Hi, I'm Tim Stokes, and I'm here with Chris Scooter of Interact Global again. We're talking about developing employees, motivating employees, hiring employees, and building long-term teams. How are you today, Chris?
I'm well, Tim, and yourself?
I am excellent. So that's answers the big question today, Chris. How do you motivate employees? How do you make employees happy? How do you keep employees happy? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Tim, that's an interesting one. Mostly communication, that's the most important part in motivating employees. And that's often the issue that falls apart and or does not get enough attention, and then motivation levels drop. Now, it all starts at the beginning, and the beginning is where and how you onboard your staff. And that starts with making sure you have benchmarks, and benchmarks for the job, which is mostly about behavior. So first of all, you've got to get your DISC assessments correct in terms of their profiling, in what kind of, how you would like the job to be done. And that means if you want high compliance in a job, or if you want high influence in the job, you have to make that decision before the start of the recruitment process. But at the same time, you also need to know what is your culture in your organization and what's your benchmark for your culture. And that's usually your set of values. And that values you need to be able to assess with your people before you start, and dovetail that and or matrix that with your behavior. But then there's a third aspect, and that is to look at what kind of emotional intelligence and levels of emotional intelligence do you need in a specific job. So it's all about job functionality, and in terms of being able to define it beforehand, and then to decide out how you're going to communicate and engage in that job.
Very good summary. And yeah, I agree, Chris. It's all about planning in advance, isn't it? It's about identifying what you're really looking for in a person. From a personality trait, I always tell my clients that you put staff off for personality related reasons, not experience. So if you hire with a minimum level of experience, I always say to my clients, what's the minimum level of experience you'll accept in anyone that you're considering for this position? And once that's established, then to me, it's about personality traits, because personality traits are dependability, integrity. Do they do what they say? Are they consistent? Do they have an interest in the work that they do? Are they keen to learn? All those kind of things, to me, the personality traits as to whether you're going to put someone off down the track. So if you hire on personality traits, then you don't need to put people off, and then you build a team long term. And it's looking at those things, like you say, isn't it? It's about identifying, have you got a round peg in a round hole when you hire them, so that you're really confident that you're hiring someone that's a really good fit for your business from a values perspective, from an EQ perspective, and from a DISC profile perspective. Would that be true, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. And the matrix of all of that gives you a very clear picture of what is it that you're going to get in the job. But it's very important that you first understand what is the job that you want and the definition of that. And that's where many people make a mistake. And often they say, well, I need that skill. I want that skill. I'll live with the consequences. And the consequences would be that you would be looking for another person in 3 or 4 months' time, because often if it's not a good culture match and if it's not a good behavior match, you are going to eventually have a toxic situation in which you would have to either make moves and or have to research and relook for another position.
Yeah, it's a painful exercise to go through the whole recruitment process all over again because someone didn't work out in 3 or 6 months' time. I've found that if you really put a lot of effort into getting really clear on what you're looking for before you consider writing the ad, and then looking at some things, some of the content of the ad can be from some of that research in regards to what's an ideal DISC profile, what kind of EQ person traits do you want, etc. Those sort of things. I've found that if you really put a lot of thoroughness into that whole exercise before you write the ad, preparing, being really clear what you want, then you're likely to be very successful with your recruitment process.
Yes, and the other part of it is that so important that you understand what kind of value system do you carry in your business or in the job, and that's the core value of it. Let's take, for example, if you are looking for the entrepreneurial side of an individual. In other words, that they would go for financial risk, and that they would also, in other words, for a commission-based situation, and where they are risk averse, for example. So then it must go and look at, do you offer the stability in the position in terms of a consistent, safe salary, or a predictable income, inclusive to how you would want to structure the stability of the position versus how you want to structure the entrepreneurial side of a position. But you can't have both. So if you, and often what I find is that people say, well, I don't want risk, but I want somebody to go out there and hunt. And if you want that, you need to understand that there's specific ways of communicating that and how you're going to communicate it. And the interesting thing is people leave managers, they don't leave organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, we might wind it up there. It's been great talking to you as always, and look forward to talking to you again next video.
Great. Looking forward to them.